Hey, this is Lindsay.
And Deanna.
Here's your news, 500 years late.
And up first, we have some never-before-seen news from the eastern coast of Africa during the 1450 to 1700 with my best pal, Noah T. Horner.
Thanks, guys. Hey, this is Horner reporting in from Africa. I started out on the western coast of Africa. The kingdoms on the western coast are normally small. They are devoting all of their resources to fighting each other so they can get slaves to sell to the Europeans, and in return, get weapons and rum. The weapons allow them to cement their power in their own kingdom and go off and get more slaves, a cycle that repeatedly continues. Then I took a camel caravan to the eastern coast of Africa, or the Swahili coast, an area very, very heavily influenced by Islam. Swahili coast is important due to the fact that one of the 4 major trading areas in the Indian Ocean trade, one of the 2 largest trades in the world. Africa exports ivory, animal products, and timber, while importing things like silver coins, cotton cloth, spices, and silk from the trade.
Up next, we have my fellow anchor, Deanna, reporting on her recent journey to Asia.
Hi, this is Deanna, reporting about my recent travel to Asia. China advanced in developments of ship design, tools, and wind currents. Miniature paintings created in the Middle East and South Asia and woodblock prints in Japan became very popular. Textile production of silk in China and of cotton in India boosted the economies and caused greater peasant labor. The Manchu elites in China gained strength. The daimyo's power in Japan was unsteady, as the Chinese state supported Confucian ideas and encouraged the performance of Confucian rituals. The Chinese exam system recruited bureaucratic elites. The samurais in Japan became salaried, and the Manchu Empire expanded in size, while Islamic tradition of Sunni, Shia, and Sufi spread to Asia and was adapted to the local culture. Up next, we have my fellow anchor Lindsay, giving her report on the Americas.
Hello, this is Lindsay reporting on my travels to the Americas. The export of silver led to a boost in the economies. Also, a big transition was the Columbian Exchange, which spread diseases such as smallpox and also spread animals such as horses, pigs, and cattle. Cash crops such as sugar and tobacco were very important to the economy, and also American foods such as potatoes and maize became staple crops and foods that were then exported to Europe and then the Middle East. The Columbian Exchange also placed a damper on the environment. Deforestation and soil depletion occurred. Saints in Latin America formed cults, while the plantation economies also led to slave labor. Creole elites, which were pure whites in charge of the government, were present in Spanish America. Systems such as the encomienda and hacienda were prevalent in Spanish America as well. Ethnic classifications in Spanish America included mestizos and mulattoes. There was a growing global demand for raw materials and finished products, which drove economic boosts and increased imports throughout the whole world. Now here's a report from our lead reporter in Europe, John.
Thanks, guys. Hey, it's John here in Europe. We start off our story with the Dutch and British East India Companies. They were given government monopolies of trade in regions designated by their governments, but they were not supervised by their own states. The Northern Renaissance was focused in Europe and began after 1450, and its culture stressed humanism, which is focused on mankind as the center of intellectual and artistic endeavors, as opposed to earlier when it focused on family structure was also changing. The European-style family structure placed emphasis on the nuclear family, which is only the parents and their children, instead of extended families, which is the nuclear family with the grandparents. Next was the Catholic Reformation, if you could call it that. It was basically the Catholic Church restating their beliefs and in a different wording. Ergo, the only thing changed was the font. Next, we have Martin Luther, a German monk who started Protestantism. His version of it urged for the state to control the church, as an alternative to papal authority where the church controlled the state. Now, Protestantism wasn't the only new idea in this time period. There was also the Enlightenment and the Scientific Revolution. After the Scientific Revolution, which is my next topic, came the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was an intellectual movement that features scientific advance, the application of scientific methods to the study of human society, and belief that rational laws could describe social behavior. For example, it was written that brutal punishments failed to deter criminals from committing crimes, but a decent society would be able to rehabilitate criminals through education. The scientific revolution started in the 16th century. The main people I'm going to talk about to give you an idea of the advancements made were Nicholas Copernicus, Johannes Kepler, Galileo Galilei, William Harvey, Francis Bacon, Isaac Newton, and John Locke. Copernicus proposed that the sun was the center of the solar system instead of the earth, as the Greeks proposed earlier. Kepler improved the knowledge of planetary motion. Galileo improved and published the ideas of Copernicus, since he did not publish his own findings, and added to them. Harvey figured out that the heart was a pump. Bacon created the scientific method, and Locke said that the power of the government came from the people and not the kings.
Wait, is that the Catholics? Dude, crap. They're coming after you because you mentioned Galilee.
Why?
Run! Because they condemned him! Sorry about that interruption, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know, Galileo Galilei was condemned due to his findings by the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church believed that the Earth was not only the center of the solar system, but the center of the universe. To those of you who are Catholic, this is not to make a joke at you. This is to make a joke at the Catholics during the 1450 to 1750 period. His Muslim burning point Jack was going to make was the English Civil War. The English Civil War was a bloody conflict that was started when the peasants decided they had enough of taxation without representation, a power that the king had. The war in itself wasn't very important, but the result of it permanently changed the world. That result was the Magna Carta, which is a document that limits the power of the king and gave more power to the people. The constitution of all the freed colonies were based on the U.S. Constitution, and that Constitution was based off the Magna Carta.
Alrighty, so an overview of the time period, 1450 to 1750. A first key point would be trade. Trade included trading of goods, trading of cattle, trading of diseases from the Europe area and Asia area all the way to the Americas. That was introduced during this time period. Another key point for this time period, 1450 to 1750, is global connections. So global connections were formed a lot during this time period due to technologies in shipbuilding, maps, navigation systems. So this really connected the key parts of the world to allow for trade to happen in India, the Indian Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, Pacific.
Okay, so another key point in this is social restructuring. The family structure was kind of rearranged, with it becoming more of a loving family that you see in modern days. We have multiple instances with families, there are paintings of them, where you see more of a loving relationship between father and children and mother and children. Also, we have a little bit of social restructuring for the masses, but not as quite much that needs to be done.
Thank you for watching this news report about the time period 1450 through 1750. We hope you learned a lot about the restructuring of the world, global connections, and we hope you tune in later.
Catch you in 500 years. I'm Deanna.
I'm Lindsay,
And we're signing off.